Have you ever found yourself so stuck and you're sick of it, you're ready to throw the towel in, you're feeling resentful, you have buildup of maddening anger, and you just want something to change? You don't know how to change it, you don't know where to start? This episode is for you. Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another episode of More Than Dance. Today, I'm going to teach you a rule that will change your life. This is the 100% to 10% conversion. And no, I am not a sports fan here. I'm just someone who thinks a lot and knows a lot about self-improvement. So I want you to right now to just sit with yourself and visualize something in your life that feels like a struggle. It could be a daily struggle, a weekly struggle, a monthly struggle. It's something that is always coming up. It never quite settles down, and you always get faced with it in a different way. It could be being on time for something. It could be cleaning your house. It could be sticking to a routine. It could be showing up for yourself and doing self-care. It could be staying and maintaining a healthy habit of eating. Whatever the case is, I want you to think about that and think what it would be like in a dream situation, what things would look like, what things would feel like. And then I want you to think what would be something that would make doing that thing absolutely so easy. So I'm going to give you an example. Over the weekend, we had one of our favorite classes called Full Circle, which is a mindset and intuition dance workshop where it's like a mental massage and a spiritual hug. And so many things come up in that workshop. It's quarterly and it's synced with the moon. So a lot of things just feel overlapping between the people that are at the studio and then also me and my conversations with people outside the studio. So the thought process on this, well, the way that I first started was talking about like, who are we? What do we do? And we'll get to that in a second. And the next was really uncovering some things that are just on our minds. And I had one student and she shared with us that she is a mom and she has two kids. One is a baby and the other is older. And she is currently on her maternity leave. And her husband is working and going to work outside of the house. And she is being mom full time. She's getting things together, making sure that things are in order. When we were discussing, we were uncovering that it can be really, really hard to accept that self-care is a necessity. And self-care, as you know, can fall into so many different categories. It could be an actual massage. It could be taking a dance class. It could be going out with a friend. It could be taking a nap, doing some alone time. It could be meditating. It could be lighting candles, taking a bubble bath, going on a solo-cation. It could be making out. It could be whatever you would wish it to be. And it can be hard when the responsibilities feel like they are overlapping with the time that it would take for you to do something in the self-care bracket. And the guilt, let's talk about the guilt for a second because I know that's a big thing. The guilt comes over and the shoulds happen. And you know what happens when you should on yourself. When you should on yourself, you're giving yourself these obligatory guilt moments where you're thinking about realistically, I'm a woman, I just birthed this child, I'm worthy of a break, I am worthy of self-care, I am worthy of doing all these things that are good for me. And at the same time, I'm a mom now, I have responsibilities now, I gotta work harder now. And what happens when we think about these responsibilities, because responsibilities are always going to feel more important than something that feels good, we think that they actually are more important. So we put our attention there. And then what suffers is our self-care, and therefore, because we're so suffered in the self-care department, we end up acting out, feeling resentment, feeling mad, and showing up in our responsibility department, depleted, tired, unenthusiastic. And what happens when you feel those is it compounds, and that feeling gets worse and worse and worse. And over time, if that trajectory stays the same way, you're going to start to feel worse and worse and worse. And pretty soon, you're going to look at yourself and you're going to say, who am I? And I told you we were going to get to that in a second, and here we are, full circle. So who are you? And who did you used to be? And who are you becoming? And all of these are important. And the reason how we know that is based off of our goals and based off of how we want to live our days. And it's also based off of what we're seeing ourselves fall into. And we fall into certain traps. So let's get back to the mom for a second. She's watching her kids. She's like looking out for herself. She's looking out for her husband. She's maintaining the home. She's doing a lot of things. Okay. And he's doing a lot of things too. And you know, when you go to someone's house, not if you go to an Italian's house, because this will never happen. But if you go to someone's house and they say, oh, do you want anything to drink? And you say, oh, no, thank you. You don't get anything to drink. But maybe now you're thinking, wow, I really could use a drink. I really could use some water. Like, oh, now that I thought about drinking a drink of water, like I do feel a little parched. The reason why I said that would never happen in an Italian home is because they would ask you 5 times until you said yes. The reason why I'm bringing this into the topic is because when people say, no, they don't want something, really they want the encouragement that it's okay to take that. It's okay to have that permission. It's like the other rule, and I do this at the studio all the time, like when someone has a question, or if I just taught something that's kind of dense in terms of dance, I'll stop and I'll say, oh, do we have any questions? And like, I usually give some time, and then I give an extra amount of time because there's so much processing that's happening while things are setting in. And it's usually, if you do a countdown of like 5 seconds or more, you'll find that at like the last second, someone's like, oh, I do have a question. And it's kind of like a silent agreement where you're talking to the person with the countdown, with the time that you're giving them, with the space that you're giving them to relax in what you just said and to say, hey, I think it would be fine for me to ask a question. And getting that permission, like she's suggesting that I could have a question here and she actually cares about my question. So it's this space of forgiveness and permission that's allotted. Now, we're responsible for that in our own day-to-day. We're responsible for giving ourselves our permission to do something that we know we get to do. We know that self-care is important. Otherwise, we wouldn't even know what that word is. We know that taking care of ourselves and filling up our cup fills into others. And we know that because I'm saying that right now and you're like, oh yeah, I've heard that before. And for whatever reason, without the permission and without the encouragement, it's very hard to implement. And the reason why I would talk about implementation in this case is because there gets to be an action plan. And an action plan is so helpful in terms of goals. And it doesn't have to be like, I remember when I started my business, someone that I knew very well was like, well, you have to write down your business plan and you have to write down everything about it. And it made it more overwhelming. Just that word action or goals or goal setting can make us go like, whoa, I don't want it that bad. So when you start to implement an action plan towards your self-care, it can be at first, given the Heisman, like, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to do that because there's comfort in doing all the responsibilities and there's silent rewards for doing all those responsibilities. The silent rewards are like, oh yeah, you did that. Oh, you check that off, check that off. And for whatever reason, the equation never matches up where X equals X or X equals Y, that the self-care bracket is equatable to the same kind of list of responsibility on the other side, i.e. vacuuming is the same equivalent as resting. No, it's not. We all think that if you were to vacuum your whole house, like you would get 100 gold stars. And like, if you rested, you'd be like, well, crap, I rested. I wasted the day. That's our mindset. That's how it is. I don't think that's how it is in Italy, but I think that's how it is here. So the idea now is to create this action plan. We get to start somewhere. The fun place to start is by thinking about the dream world. This is where the hack is going to come in. This is where that little 100% to 10% conversion is going to come in. So let's workshop this. So you've got your idea. You're thinking about what you're struggling with. We went through that whole list before. I'm sure you have your own. You can choose one from above just to workshop and go through it. And it's challenging. Now, what if I told you that you could pick anything in the world to make that one thing easier? Dream scenario. So you would pick it. What would make that dream scenario? And usually when you think this, you're like, no, I could never do that. So my dream scenario suggestion to the mom that I was just speaking to you about was to say, what if you got a nanny for 2 hours a week? The immediate reaction was, oh my God, no way. I could never do that. And it's okay to feel that because that's the resistance. That's the discomfort. That's your thought of unworthiness coming through. Like, no, I can handle it on my own. Like, I got it. I don't need to rest. I can suck it up. I can sack up. Okay. It's just a thought. It's a dream scenario. Be in the dream world with me. It's fun. So what is it? Would it be that, like, I know for my people who like love chocolate like me, like something that I always think about when I eat chocolate, what if they actually were 0-calorie chocolates? Then we could just eat chocolate all day and like we didn't have to worry about it. Or what if it was immediate that when you're learning how to dance, like you can just step in and just like know exactly what you're doing. Dream scenario, fun scenario. exciting scenario. To find that hone in on one thing that feels like, whoa, that would be like really cool, but totally unrealistic. And then you're going to do the conversion of what is 10% of that dream scenario? What would it be? And I actually love the answer that our mom came up with, and I'm going to share it with you. So the answer was, I suggested, what would happen if you had a nanny for 2 hours a week? And she said, oh my God, oh no, no, no. And then I said, okay, well, what would be 10% of that dream? And she had the answer immediately. And she was like, well, actually, what would feel really nice is what already happened before. So she already was able to draw on something that already happened. And it was, my husband took my older daughter out with him when he went to go see his friends, and they had a play date, man-to-man date at the same time. And I was able to just be home with my baby. And I was like, oh my God, you cracked the code. You figured it out. That's the 100%, 10% conversion. So now I ask you, what do you think yours is? And we can sit here for just a second, and I want to go to the dance world because I know that's why you love this podcast. So in the dance world, as I told you, the struggle is learning how to dance. The struggle is memory. The struggle is feeling like you belong in the studio until you know that you belong. Dream scenario is going in and instantly having your circle of friends. Dream scenario is going in and never forgetting a routine. 10% conversion would be going in and showing that you're open to making friends and maybe having a small conversation with someone. It's 10% of what it could be. And that actually leads to momentum. And momentum will give you more motivation. As we learned in episode 30, the more momentum you have, the more motivation you build. So once we get the ball rolling, you'll be able to see results are happening. Things are feeling alleviated. So going back to the mom, because this is so prominent in my mind right now, the more that she's able to take action, again, remember, implement this dream scenario, which is, we know it's not a dream, but it's a fraction of the dream. And that's what we love about it. The more she's able to do that, the more that she'll feel good about when she does it. And then the more she will ask for permission to do that. So it's kind of like a hack within a hack, because it's like the 100%, 10% conversion is what's building the space to do that thing, to build momentum and motivation. And it's that's building the permission. So we kind of have this trifecta of things that all leads into you doing exactly what you get to do to be who you want to be. And now we're back to that. Who are you? So if you're looking at your life right now and you're thinking, what happened? Where did I go wrong? What am I doing? Wake up. We might get to workshop a scenario, and there might be multiple different scenarios happening. And again, I always want to be sensitive to like really big hardships. So this isn't necessarily if you're going through a big hardship right now. I would consider that a different category, and a category that we would want to give different types of care to. So this is more like you're realizing that you lost yourself. You lost your routine, and maybe you did do that from a tragedy, but I just want to be sensitive that like things can be like very, very like difficult and also difficult. So I don't want to ever minimize something very serious. So when you're looking at yourself, and this is beautiful because you get to do more mirror work. And if you've ever done mirror work before, you know that it's vulnerable. And we love the V word, don't we? The V word is vulnerability. Get your mind out of the gutter. So we want to make sure that we make time to be with ourselves on a daily basis, where we're not just passing our reflection by, where we get a chance to get to know ourselves like we would someone brand new that intrigues us. We look at ourselves in the mirror and we say, hey, how are you doing today? What's going on with you? And you can do this with a mirror and just a conversation. You can also do this with reflection. We've got episode 41 and episode 65. And then mirror work, it's 86. If you hate looking at yourself in the mirror, this is for you. Episode 80 and 88 are good too. And when you have that moment with yourself, maybe it's daily, maybe it's weekly, you're keeping up like you would a friendship with someone, as opposed to avoiding it and waiting until maybe a year goes by and you're even saying more deeply like, well, yeah, what happened? In this case, it's kind of like progress reports with yourself. You're like, hey, how you doing? Weekly check-in. Get confronted with yourself, look at yourself, admire yourself, know that you're worthy, remind yourself that you're amazing. you're here for a reason. We're always evolving, and it's important to, one, accept the evolution, and also to get in there when we feel like things are going in a way that's not really where we want it to go. We can't always control everything. We know that. And we do know, though, that we can control our outlook. So you might track your progress. And I actually have this sheet that I made, and it tracks my progress with myself. And it's like a 10-point scale of different categories. So it's like, how was this week overall? And like 1 to 10. And I always say that like 5 is just like a median. Like it's like good, average, nice. If anything is like above 5, it's like, ooh, that was like a really fun week. And you can ask yourself like a bunch of different questions, make a little spreadsheet, and then fill it out once a week, or you can fill it out once a month just to check in with yourself. You can also there's an app that I've used before, not consistently, but it's a mood tracking app. I just like tracking things. Like it rains on Tuesdays and I like to track that. It's just fun. So find something that you like to track. It could be just one question that you ask yourself and then you give it a rating scale. And then if you like data like I do, you can make like a little graph and you can look at the numbers. Anyway, I'm going to give you some questions to think about. Who are you? Who are you becoming? Who did you used to be? What do you miss about what you used to be? Can you implement that into your current self? And how are you transformed? We'll call that like section 1 of like reflection questions. And then part 2 is going through that exercise of where do you feel like you're struggling, and give the dream scenario and then go into the 100%, 10% conversion. And then 3 is how can you implement that 10% of your dream, and how can you put it on the calendar and actually hold yourself accountable. And I, of course, want to know this. So please DM me, message me, tag me. I'd love to see your progress and help hold you accountable. If this was helpful for you, I would love to ask you for a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or even better, you could share this to your page right now and share this with a dancer just like you, working on themselves and becoming the dancer that you are becoming as well. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the dance floor.